New York Democratic Congressman Jerry Nadler joins the conversation as well. His district includes Ground Zero in Lower Manhattan. He's fully behind the idea of bringing back the suspects. Glenn Greenwald, former constitutional law and civil rights litigator, writes for Salon.com, best-selling author of The Great American Hypocrites. Governor, I'm going to begin with you. Your thoughts on the decision?
I think it's a horrible decision. I think it jeopardizes American security. It jeopardizes friends who give us intelligence, and it's going to allow them to use propaganda, to have Al Jazeera waiting in the hallways to talk about how these people were victims of barbaric American methods. You know, the excuse is we have to follow the rule of law. Of course we do. But military tribunals are a part of our legal system. They've been upheld by the U.S. Supreme Court. They were used by FDR, and they're what we should be using in this case against these barbaric terrorists.
Representative Nadler, you agree with that?
I certainly do not agree with that. I think that our tradition is that people accused of heinous crimes get trials, and they get trials in the area in which the crime was committed, which is right here. And I think it's exactly the right thing to do. I have not been able to make any sense of the various accusations against it. They will be tried. There is, according to the Attorney General, ample evidence to convict them, and they will be convicted, presumably, and punished severely. And that's the way it ought to be, and we ought to show the world that we adhere to our traditions of justice and that these terrorists are not going to cause us to abandon the law.
Congressman, you know, respectfully, you're saying you can't see any downside to doing this. We have to reveal our sources. We tried this once before after the 1993 bombings of the towers, and we were forced to reveal every single member of al-Qaeda we knew about, including Osama bin Laden. He ended up within weeks knowing who we knew, who we didn't know in his network. He could infer from that who our sources were, what our sources were. It is simply wrong. We are going to use military tribunals. They're saying they're perfectly fine for some terrorists, but these terrorists we're going to try here. What's the justification for that, Joe?
Well, I don't think there is any justification. I don't think the justification for using the military tribunals for any of the terrorists. And they haven't. The Attorney General has given us no criteria why some go before a regular trial and some before a military tribunal. What's relevant to notice about the military tribunals that the Bush administration in 7 years was not able to try one person in the military tribunal, nor has the Obama administration in 1 year. Because
well, that's because he couldn't get Congress to pass the authorizing legislation until 2006.
Because the Supreme Court kept knocking it down.
I want to get Glenn Greenwald in here. Glenn, you've made the point that other countries, London, Madrid, have tried their terrorists or those who have been accused of perpetrating terrorist attacks on their countries in their normal court systems in their home cities. Walk us through your views and how you put, again, our situation in the context of other cities around the world.
Well, it seems only the United States has politicians like Governor Pataki who spread the sort of fear-mongering that we're hearing from him, which is, oh, we're too scared to allow real trials in our cities. If you look at how the British treated the people who did the London subway bombings, the Spanish who treated the people who did the Madrid subway bombings, even India just put on trial the sole surviving terrorist who perpetrated the Mumbai massacre last year. Even Indonesia gave trials in their real cities to the people who blew up the nightclubs in Bali. It's only at the American conservatives who are feeding the terrorist agenda by saying we're too scared to
only the American conservatives. Then tell me why Obama and Holder are using military tribunals against those who blow up Americans in acts of war overseas. They're just picking these particular. Wait. Let me try here. You just spoke. They're just picking these particular terrorists for trial in New York because they blew up civilians in New York. So what their logic is, kill thousands of civilians in America and you can get a civil trial. Kill one or two overseas and we're going to use military tribunals. That makes no sense. It jeopardizes our security. We are less safe today because of this decision.
Hold on 1 second, Glenn. Now go ahead, Glenn. Now you go ahead.
The core of the American justice system is that if we want to put people into prison for life or kill them, we first determine that they're really guilty, which is how, and the way we do that is we give them trials. Military commissions traditionally have been used only for one thing, which is battlefield justice. When you capture someone on an actual battlefield and can't get them to a real court, that is not the case here. And nothing helps terrorists more than being able to go to the Muslim world and say, look at how the United States is too oppressive or too afraid to give Muslims real trials that they give to everybody else. By showing that we abide by the rule of law, that is the greatest weapon we have against terrorism.
We did that. That's exactly what we did when the World Trade Center towers were blown up in 1993. This is not fear-mongering. I really take resentment at the fact that you use that word. We have been through this. We tried civil trials before.
Hold on.
We convicted the sheik in a criminal trial. What it did was inspire bin Laden and others to say, we're going to do it again. And we had the September 11th attacks.
You think that because of that trial, that's why they did what they did?
Because of that trial, they were
well motivated to do it beforehand. We have something called the Classified Intelligence Procedures Act, passed by Congress in 1978, that's been used for 30 years.
That does what in this context?
Well, it governs how you use classified information in the context of a criminal trial to protect that classified information while still giving proper due process to the accused. It's worked well. The civilian courts have very good experience with how to protect secrets.
But Governor, be very clear so we can get a better understanding of this. What specific security risk? Forget the politics and the theater of it. As a result of the civil trial,
I'll give you an example. We have got to reveal our sources of information in a criminal trial. If there is an Afghani civilian who we paid to give us intelligence to capture Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, we have got to reveal that. That person is going to be at risk. And what are other Afghani civilians going to think about providing information to American intelligence against terrorists when they fear that their name is going to be revealed in open court? This happened before.
Hold on. Let me get the Congressman, and I'll come back to you, Glenn. Go ahead, Representative.
That simply ignores CIPA, the Classified Intelligence Protection Act, which provides precisely for those type of situations and how to keep material that is sensitive secret within while still allowing a proper due process. That's why we have CIPA, and it has worked for 30 years, and the courts have been able to handle this. Now, and by the way, in a military tribunal, you'd have the exact same civil rights to the exact same to the same extent.
The rules of evidence are different in military tribunals. The procedures are different. And you are right, we had that law in place. We had it in the 90s when we did the trial before, and we did reveal our sources. We had to reveal the names of all the unindicted co-conspirators. Everyone we knew was in al-Qaeda, and that gave al-Qaeda and bin Laden enormous information they were able to use to protect themselves from our intelligence and from our efforts to find it.
It's amazing
Glenn, I'm out of time. I'll have you back, though, for sure. This conversation is clearly going to stay with us. So, Governor, thank you. Representative Glenn, thank you so much for helping us sort of weave our way through what we're dealing with here.